It's no question David O. Russell was on fire in those movies to turn those out. And so what's the deal with the hair, though? You had the curlers in the movie, and was that difficult to get that kind of perm?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that was like the predecessor of Maestro, because I would have to go like a couple hours before call every day, and we would curl my hair every day. And that was David's idea, based on this baseball player that did that. And he's like, I think that Richie DeMasso does that. And I was like, okay. And then we kind of fell in love with it, and we shot a scene when he's wearing the curlers because we loved it so much. And yeah, that was just such a wonderful character to play. He was so crazy, Richie DeMasso.
That's true.
Yeah, he was like a hybrid of three guys. I remember one of the guys who thought it was based on was not very happy. But that was incredible. And then the other stuff with we shot that in 32 days. I remember Silver Linings Playbook, and it was like running a sprint, and it had that wonderful energy to it. And that was the first time I'd really been on a set and felt like how the rhythm of a shooting day can dictate performance, and that's really what David does. He creates this incredible rhythm.
And well, it comes through on that too.
Amy Adams was incredible to work with in that film. Oh my gosh, she was so wonderful in that movie. Yeah.
I think you all got nominated for that. I mean, but look at her performance there, just in that scene.
She was incredible, incredible.
Yeah. We're going to show a couple of other movies that you made that really, I think, had a deep impact on you, particularly one of them, which is American Sniper, which... American Sniper, directed by Clint Eastwood, who you're sort of following in his footsteps as a director. Do you watch these guys do these things and learn something every time you make a movie and know that that's what you want to do ultimately?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had Clint, David, everybody, John, everybody. Yeah, I'm I love it so much. Like what you just said, you love movies. I love movies. I love how they're made. I've always been obsessed with it ever since I was on Alias. I would ask to be on set when I wasn't working. Yeah.
Alias fans there?
Yeah. And J.J. was so wonderful. J.J. Abrams was so wonderful to let me sit in the editing rooms, and I would get everybody's dailies home. That was back in VHS, and yeah, people would make fun of me, but I did it anyway. And because I just love it so much, and I learned a tremendous amount from Clint. And actually, the anniversary of Chris Kyle's death was it was February 3rd, and that movie was profound on many levels. I made a couple of friends for life from that movie. And I got to work with the guy that that was like mythological to me, Clint Eastwood, and wound up finding him. He's one of the funniest, he's a jazz musician, Clint. That's what he is, That's what he is, like, through and through.
He does a lot of his own scores. He actually
most of them, yeah. I think like almost all of them, yeah. So that was incredible.
Although you do music, obviously, we've seen. You actually won a BAFTA award for Star is Born for Best Film Music. And 2 Grammys, but we'll get to that. But this playing Chris Kyle, I can't imagine what that experience was like, tell you the truth, because did you talk to him before he was murdered?
He was murdered while we were in the process of making the deal to do the movie. So it was and at that point, Steven Spielberg was going to direct it. And then I remember I was on set. It may have been American Hustle, and Jason Hall, who wrote the script, called me, and it was one of those moments where you don't understand what they're saying, and how he was murdered was so horrendous, and then Steven dropped out of the movie, and then Clint Eastwood, was reading that book while he was shooting Jersey Boys. And I heard that, and I called him, and I was like, hey, Clint, we had met earlier, so we knew each other a little bit, and he's like, well, let me finish the book, and then I was like, okay, I'll call you Monday. And I was like, okay. And we were doing Serena. I was in Denmark editing Serena with Suzanne Bier, and then I remember we got the call, Clint's going to call you. I was like, okay, and he called me, he's like, Bradley? I was like, hey, Clint, hey. He's like, let's make this fucker. And that was it. I'll never forget it. I just started crying. Yeah, really. I couldn't believe it. And he's just hilarious.
Well, he's just finished shooting.
Yeah, he just finished shooting. He's 93 years old. He just finished shooting in Savannah, Georgia. Yeah.
It's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's an amazing I think he's made 40 movies as a director. Directing him.
Started when he was 40.
And started when he was 40.
Misty for
doing
me,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. And directing himself sometimes not. You've directed twice now, but you're the star of both of those movies.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's Lady Gaga and Carrie Mulligan.
Well, yeah.
I think might be.
No, they're
Yeah.
the co-stars. But what I mean is,
I know what you're saying.
You're
Yeah.
starring in those
Yeah.
movies and directing yourself. Did you have anything that, you know, when you got into this world of directing that you wanted to just direct and not be in it? In other words.
I really do love being on the field as an actor director. I really do have to say it's part of what's intoxicating about it. I would also do the other, but I love acting so much too, and I loved those two roles so much that it was also part of the reason I wanted to make the movie. But absolutely, I would just direct. If it's all about, like you said, like, is there something I love so much?
When you're making a movie like American Sniper, you put on like about 40 pounds of muscle weight on that, right? To bulk up?
Yeah, I was 185 when we started. Again, this is why Clint's so hilarious. We went to Midlothian, Texas to talk to Chris's parents, and then Taya Kyle, his widow, and met Colton and McKenna, the children, and we got the blessing, and we're flying back, and I was like thinking, okay, we got 6 months before we're going to start shooting, and I was like, okay, Clint, so I'm going to get a trainer, and I got to start eating, I think 6,000 calories a day, and he's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, well, Clint, I'm 185 pounds. You saw photos of Chris, right? Like, we can't just, and like, it didn't even matter to him. And then I remember when I showed up, and we didn't talk about it. Yeah, and I showed up. I was like 238, and I was like, it didn't sound like myself. And I remember we did the scene, and then he says like, so that's how you're gonna do it, huh?
I think I'd get under the covers if I heard that. Wow.
True story, dude. This is so funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Wow, but it certainly turned out well, you know, and it became this gigantic box office hit as well as critical success.
Yeah, which was shocking.
You were shocked?
Oh, yeah. An R-rated war movie? Yeah, we were shocked. Okay. Yeah.
Another Best Picture.
You weren't? No.
I don't know. I saw the movie. I thought, you know, people relate to movies, and they relate to characters, and they relate to stories that move them.
Right.
And so I think if you make a movie like that, it's going to find an audience, I believe, I hope.
Yeah.
Doesn't always.
That's true.
But, you know.
Yeah.
It
took a life of its own in a way that we never thought. Yeah, it was pretty special.
Yeah, you never know. You never know
Oh,
what.
gosh.
I mean, look at Oppenheimer this year. You know, who would have thought a 3-hour movie, partially in black and white, released in the middle of the summer, adult
Like
drama.
you said, if it's something that people can relate
People
to.
just
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
You know, they find it. Maestro, another one like that you just go like, okay, I think I know Leonard Bernstein,
Right.
but maybe I didn't.
Right. Yeah. Or I never knew him.
Or I never
Yeah,
knew.
but maybe I can relate to this person.
This is what makes great movies, and certainly this one was. And you know, the other clip we're going to show is a movie that wasn't a box office hit, really, but it was. I've always loved this film. It's called Burnt.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you seen Burnt, guys? Okay. And we're going to talk about Burnt because that's all about food and other things and this amazing character that you play in it. So we're going to take a look at a couple of clips now from American Sniper and Burnt.